It's been a hot minute since our last visit to the alley, and things are beginning to really look amazing. So, without further ado, I think we should probably just go in and have a look at the alley. The alleyway garden has been here for about 11 months now, and I was absolutely blown away. Who would have believed that there would be a fig tree in the middle of Manchester, and look at how well it's doing. There's so much fruit on the tree that the plant is actually lopsided. We're going to have to really tackle this. Everything has become more established, which is perfect because most of these plants just kind of take care of themselves. I absolutely love the cacophony of colour. There's vibrancy all through the garden. It's crazy to think that this garden started off its life as a show garden at the RHS Park Flower Show. I made a whole series about this garden, so if you do want to have a look at that from the beginning, I'll leave a link to the playlist below in the description box. One of my favourite parts of this alley is the orchard. Yes, we are in the city centre and we have an orchard. I made sure to include lots of different fruit trees, so this apple tree is now coming right into its own. It's not just one, in fact we have 5 altogether. And having so many helps to increase the chance of pollination and a higher yield. And it's not just apples, so strawberries do super well. In fact, these have even managed to get themselves down here as well. And we now have a population of wild strawberries just doing their own thing. It was really important to me to give people spaces that they could grow their own food. And so you see things like chives, chard, spinach, all sorts of different things. We even use fennel, and I love using fennel because you get that really great texture from the leaves, and so you can use it as a decorative plant as well as an edible. So we've got fennel, we have alliums and chives as well. So again, it's all really pretty. When I designed the space, it was all about inclusivity. So even down to the labels, it was really important to me to make sure that everybody felt welcomed in this space. So you'll find that the labels are in both English and Arabic. And not everyone's got money, so we just repurposed this palette into a planter, and we actually got this from a skip at the Park Flower Show, and we painted it up and we used compost bags, and then there you go. And bear in mind, all of these plants are from last year and they've all made their way back. It is no wonder why we have so many rogue strawberry plants along the alley. Once again, using edibles to create a really pretty display. So we have some lettuce here, but again, paired that with a chard. And then just down the end, we also have these roses. So in essence, we've got this trifecta of colour all the way through. And speaking of colour, there is one thing that I love to do is throw in splashes of colour. So let's take a look at some of the flower beds. So it looks like a green wall, but actually if we get a little bit closer, this clematis is a couple of years old, but look at his blooms. It's really nice seeing some of the more established plants on the alley really taking over and blooming wildly. We have some early flowering geums and they are really going to town. In fact, the color palette for this planter is red and purple. It's amazing how much of this has come back from last year, and this looks like a whole fireworks display now, but actually there's even more to come because we have some gladioli at the back here, And when they flower, they will be a tall red. In fact, it's not even gladioli if I remember correctly. I think these are crocus. So these should give us even more height up against that wall. So in about a month's time or so, this is going to look even more spectacular than it does now. As a designer, there's one thing I absolutely love doing, and that is trying to get a bit of height into a garden. And something that container gardeners are really bad at is working on levels. So you see I've got 3 containers, but they're different heights. And so that stops the garden from feeling flat. And then of course, right next to it, the next bed is tremendous. So over here we've got geraniums, which are going absolutely crazy. And then towards the back, to cover the wall, I've got lots of different verbena. In fact, the verbena seems to be blooming. Look at that. And look at how tall this one's gotten from last year. So pretty soon that whole back wall will just be full of blooms. And then you've got all of this colour from down the bottom. Earlier in the series we met Gemma, who has a tortoise called Mr. Tortellini, and so this whole section is designed for Mr. Tortellini. And believe it or not, all of these, we normally consider them all as annuals, but everything here was from last year, and you can tell that by looking at the base. So all of these snapdragons, even the Nemezia too. Mr. Tortellini isn't the only creature to be enjoying this garden. From what was once a fly-tipped mess to now being a safe haven for lots of different pollinators, it just goes to show that if we make the space, nature will find it. Now, one of the favourite features of this garden at the flower show was this bin shed, and 11 months on, it is still one of the main attractions. When I designed the planting plan, I made sure that everything on here was evergreen. I wanted to make sure that even in winter, you could come out and see a little bit of green doing the most mundane, arduous of tasks. And I have to say, the plants have just continuously bloomed throughout the past 11 months. And just look at our brand new water butt. The ivy has gone crazy, and the snapdragons, these snapdragons have come back from last year and are stronger than ever. It's just spectacular. But with such success, there are some challenges. It would be completely wrong to say that everything has been going smoothly. We have encountered some antisocial behaviour. There's been a couple of bits of vandalism along the alley, but there's also been some thefts. Now, when I decided to relocate the garden to here, I did anticipate that that could be an issue, and luckily it hasn't been as extensive as I thought it would be. What's gone missing is a few plants up and down the alley, but you know, we've got so many that actually it's not been that noticeable. But one thing that has changed on the alley is the fact that we now are going to have some alleyway gates, and it looks as though the council has taken their fingers out and begun the installation of these gates. Now, this alley is cool because there are 4 different entrances and exits to the alley, and we have 4 gates that will line the entrances to each part of the alley. So once all 4 sections are fully gated off, that will put an end to the antisocial behaviour on the alley, and we may find that actually we'll get even more residents out onto the alley, because actually that will make the place a little bit safer. Once the gates are up, that will stop the antisocial behaviour, especially the fly tipping and the thefts, so hopefully that will encourage more people to use the space. Each resident will have a key which will allow them access to the space, And should there be any community gardening days, we can then open up the gates and allow the rest of the community to come in and enjoy the garden too. Just look at this grapevine. I think we'll be making some alleyway wine very, very soon. OGs to the channel, you know how much I love water features, and this alley, well, of course, it does feature one or two. In fact, about 3 or 4. But it's really, really great to see that all of my pond plants are actually coming back this year. And take a look at this one. This originally was the pond that I had used in my Chelsea Flower Show balcony garden, but I repurposed it and brought it back to the alley here. And the lilies, the grasses, everything is now beginning to flower. It is going to look spectacular in about 2 to 3 weeks. I wanted to find out a little bit more about how the community are finding the garden, so I went off to go and meet Yasmine to get a little bit more of an update.
It is amazing. I think I feel the most happy and comfortable and safe in this space that I felt all the years we've been doing this. And there's been so many people telling me that they've added this to their lunchtime walk or their evening walk or their dog walk or whatever, which I think shows how much the space really means to everyone in the community. And whether they live on this alleyway or other alleyways, there's clearly people appreciating it, which is really nice.
But it hasn't been smooth sailing the past couple of months, so what challenges have you faced?
Where do I start? Yeah, no, there has definitely been challenges, and I think one of the really obvious ones that we forget about is everything in this is a container, and containers dry out so much faster than stuff in the ground. So even 2 days without rain, we see stuff starting to dry out. The unfortunate thing is most of these houses don't have outdoor taps. Almost none of these houses have outdoor taps, and so we're hand watering with a watering can 80 meters worth of garden, taking it from in the house, walking all the way down with it, which has been a big challenge. And if you don't have enough people to do it on a certain day, it's not stuff that can necessarily wait 2 days until someone is free.
What's the community engagement been like?
So I think recently it's improved a lot. We've had a lot more houses on board, but even a month ago we weren't quite seeing the numbers we wanted to see. It was just 2-3 households involved, which is helpful but not always enough, and sometimes we need those 5 or 6 households to all come out at one time and to all chip in. But yeah, over the past few weeks, maybe as the nights are getting longer and the days are longer as well, there's more people coming out, more people willing to help. And actually just the other day I saw someone who said, oh, I'm going to come pick up some of the litter that's been left, just because some people have left some bottles around. So that's someone who doesn't actually ever have in the garden, so that was really nice.
Hoping that maybe now that the gates are on their way, perhaps maybe that might make some sort of impact to the garden.
I think definitely. People have already said, oh, when the gates are in, I plan to do X and I plan to do Y. And I think there is sometimes a little bit of hesitancy, because people are oh, I put something out and it got stolen, or oh, I put something out and then people came and were just watching me or staring at me and I don't know who they are. So I'm hoping the gates add a level of reassurance to everyone that it's their space and it's safe and it's nice, and it hopefully won't be littered in the way that it has been in the past.
The show garden side of this garden was just a fleeting moment in its life. I knew from the very beginning that actually it was about Yaz and the community. Their dedication to this garden is the reason why it's so successful. If you've followed this series all the way from episode 1, you know that the residents were all I had in mind, providing them with greenhouses, water butts, cold frames, everything that they needed to make this garden a success. Almost a year later, you could see that actually, by giving the community these building blocks, they were able to take this garden, maintain it, and ensure its everlasting success. I am really proud of Gemma and Yasmine and the rest of the community who've put their heart and soul into the garden, because I think it looks absolutely amazing. If you haven't already, don't forget to like this video. If you've enjoyed it, leave a comment below and let the community know how much you've enjoyed their garden. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because I will be giving you regular updates on the alley. See you again soon. Bye.